Hi guys, this is Nu-Trix the Synth Guy and welcome to another video of my YouTube channel. Today I'm testing out and demoing Poison 202 from JimAudio. Now JimAudio, you know about him if you follow my website and my YouTube channel because I did do a demo of his Groove Writer 16 or GR16 in the last month. And I really love the sound of that device. That software, that DAW, has great sounding synthesis. And when reading about it, it was clear that it was the synthesis that is also used into Poison 202. So today I'm going to go through Poison 202 synthesis and look at what it can do and make you listen to the sound that the Poison 202 provides. And to be honest, I like it very much. So it's going to be part of my top list of synth that I'm actually using. And talking about top list, and I said top list, I'm actually working on making a video about the top apps I'm using for synthesizers on the iPad right now. Because since I did a video a while back about my top apps, I received a lot of comments and suggestions about other things to try out, and I did. And there's a lot of really cool synthesizers available for the iPad. So Poison 202 is one of them, and let's go and talk about how it works and what it sounds like. Okay? I'm going to control it here with my Roland A01. It just sounds really cool, you know? What do we have here? We have... It's a simple synth when you think about it. When you look at it first, you go, okay, it's only an oscillator, a pitch envelope, a filter, an amplitude. It's fairly straightforward, but honestly, I did look at this, and when I tried it, when you start making sound with it, I'm going to do an initialized sound so like there's like nothing weird happening, so you really hear the original sound in it. What you have in it, you have options of different sawtooth. You've got oscillator 1, oscillator 2. 2 is exactly the same, so I'm going to go back and listen only to the first one. Then we've got LFOs and effects, and we've got patching, which is where this stands out as a different synth than what we expect. So what I have right now is the original sound. I'm going to go in effects, turn off everything. Okay, so I really just want to hear the sawtooth. Actually, in this case, yeah, the sawtooth. Yeah, the sawtooth, and then you can go into pulse width, change the pulse width, and the modulation. So, very efficient in making it sounding analog. Then you go into sine wave. You have also triangular wave. So all the classic stuff you have in most of the analog stuff. And then you get the super saw. Now, super saw, you need to know where it comes from. It comes from the JP-8000 from Roland. I own one. So that's my JP-8000 from Roland. And this thing sounds really cool. It was probably one of the first, it's not the first, but one of the first analog model synth that came out that was a hit. And the JP-8000 has these little things like, example, super saw. It's basically, I think it's like 8 different sawtooth playing at the same time, and you can detune them and mix the volume. That's what you have here. You have the mix between all of them, you get the detuning. So with only one oscillator, you get this already moving and very rich sound, whereas if you only have one saw, it would be like that, you know? The movement coming in. So that's pretty cool. Then you got the pitch envelope, and honestly, when I look at this, I see the JP-8000 because it's exactly what you have. You have an envelope with attack and decay. Attack and decay, and that's it. No sustain. And you go, why the hell would I want this? Well, it's going to be useful later on in the synthesis, but because this synthesizer, like the JP, can do ring modulation, cross modulation, and sync, well, this becomes interesting at that point because you can actually use the pitch on the oscillator that is in sync or that is cross modulating or ring modulation. So it can move and create rich timbre with that. So let's turn it off to 0. If you want to move it back to 0, double press on it and switch back to 0. or the neutral value if you want. You've got the filter, you've got options of a low pass, band pass, high pass, peak, and notch filter. So classic stuff. The only thing you don't have is a switch between, I don't know, -12 and -24, but it's not a big deal. You've got enough of choice here to make something really cool sounding. You got the cutoff filter, the cutoff point, you got the resonance. Let's go back to something that is. And you have soft resonance. And you have the attack, decay, sustain, and release, and how much of the envelope you want to control this. So basic stuff, you know, what you need. And you have the amplifier, okay, with the ADSR again. Now this section at the bottom here, you've got the ring modulation here, you've got the cross modulation, how much you want out of it, and the sync modulation here. Cross modulation is but it's the one that you find the least often in a synthesizer. I mean, the sync is something you see a lot. Ring modulation only also. You just turn it on and then you move the second oscillators to have the difference in volume. The cross modulation is really just using the second oscillator to multiply the first one. So it's a little bit like FM synthesis. It's not that, but it's a little bit like that. And you get these metallic, noisy sound. So it gives you this really aggressive sound if you want to. And that's personally what I like about synthesizers. I like the aggressive nature that you can get out of these synthesizer, and that's why the Poison for me 202 is a cool synth, because you get with these little things, the three one you have here, ring, cross, and sync, you get a nasty sounding synth. So it's really just aggressive and it's really cool for that. Now you have, that's the first oscillator. When you go to the second one, you basically have, not just basically, it is the same thing. So what's cool about this is that when you compare this to, let's say, the JP or classic analog synthesizers, you have two oscillators separately. They have their own envelope for the pitch, they have their own envelope for the filter. They both have a different and separate filter, so it's really powerful, and two different or separate amplitude TVA. So what this means is that you're actually playing two different synth at the same time. So it's a layer of two synthesizers playing at the same time. Both of them have an oscillator, a pitch envelope, filter envelope, a filter, and an ADSR for the amplitude. So you have two running in parallel. Now if you want them to sound the same, you can actually pair. In the FM and TVF section, you can pair the two TVF together. TVF is a time variant filter, usually. I don't know if this is what you thought of using right now, but time variant usually is for something else than ADSR. It's for more complex envelope, but whatever. It's the filter here. So in this case, the TVF or the filter, if you click on this, when you move something in the filter section, the two oscillators move at the same time. So it will sound like the two have the same filter. So it will behave more like the traditional synth of two oscillators mixed together into one filter. Now if you cross modulation here and you play with that one. Now remember that my second one here, if I don't have the cross modulation, you hear this one go down in pitch. If you take the ring sync modulation, so the envelope for the pitch, it really is useful in this case because you hear that wow wow wow. It comes because it's in sync mode and we're using the pitch to move. But then ring, again, very aggressive, that's cool. And if I go into cross modulation, then I've got, and you can combine these things. So this is where this thing really becomes really nasty and aggressive. But there's more. You go to the LFO and FX section, you've got LFO 1 and 2. They have the basic stuff that you want. Pretty, pretty interesting. You can even send the pitch to the filter, to the amplitude, and all that stuff. So, really cool. There's a sub oscillator you can add here. Listen to that. It's just, put the headphones on, you have some bass coming in. This is 24 dB, 24 notes down. I hear my headphones go, and 12. Just give it a lot of butt on your sound. So really cool for this. And well, noise, if you want to bring the noise in. I'm just gonna go back here and just get rid of that sound for now. Okay, and you have a section of effects. You have distortion, turn it on. You got these here are the values for distortion. If you go to chorus, switch this, and then these are for the chorus now. Okay, so when you click the delay, oh, I want to use this for delay, select, you switch this. I want reverb, okay, this I'm going to change. I don't want reverb, I want to go back to distortion. Oh, I don't like the value, go back here. Okay, so this is how you move around in here, and you can have distortion or crusher. You can have chorus or flanger. And you can have delay or panning. Okay, so for now, let's turn them all off. So keep at listening to the sound. And the last part that is real, actually not the last, there's another thing after that, but there's a patch section here. The patch is really cool because it gives you control over something you don't see often in analog synthesizers. You would see that in more complex digital synthesizers. You have a choice of parallel or serial. By choosing between these two types here, you're changing the internal structure of the synth. So you go from having two parallel or layered oscillator, filter, amplitude type of approach, like what I said earlier, two different synth, totally independent, that runs in parallel, or you combine oscillator 1 and 2 into one filter, and then that filter goes into the other filter, and then you go into the TVA or the amplitude for the second one. So this option here is really interesting. That's where you can have totally different sound by combining it in parallel or what they call serial. So what else? You have how much velocity to control your cross modulation, amplitude, filter, whatever. You have the portamento, the bending range for the pitch bend, the patch gain. You can bring the volume up if you want to. Modulation wheel where it's going to be controlling stuff. And the EQ at the end if you want to. Then you got the master volume and you got a limiter. Because there's so many noisy options in this synth plus distortion, they decided to put a limiter at the back, so at the end. So, okay, why not? If you don't want it, turn it off and it's gone. If you want, you can turn it on because you're using a lot of distortion maybe. Now there's also the option of solo, and you put it in solo, it becomes monophonic. If you put it not solo, it's a polyphonic synth. And if you have legato in solo mode, well, and portamento slide, portamento is going to be here. So depending how much you want of this, okay? So that's basically what this is. Then you have a little bit more option, like you've got the arpeggiator here, you have scaling here to choose which note is going to be appearing depending on the scale you're using, and then the arpeggiator, you go, well, I have an arpeggiator, but how do I control the values just on and off? Well, if you want to control the values, you go into settings here. By pressing setting, you've got all these options like sample rate, buffer size. You actually can show an oscillogram. This is pretty fun if you can actually see. I'm going to turn it off. So you can actually see the waveform if you like. So depending on if you like, I'm going to turn it off for now. The knobs can be linear or rotary if you want. Polyphonic voices, how many? Well, in this case, 20. 20 is just amazing. I don't need that much. I'm going to stay. And this is a way actually to bring down the CPU usage of this synth. You can bring it down, let's say, to 5, like a Prophet 5. Let's say. The source is the MIDI source, in this case, this keyboard here. MIDI channel, you know, basic stuff you expect for a synth to work. Then you get into the arpeggiator. You turn it on or off. The mode is very simple. You've got up, down, up and down 2. If you, let's say, up, down, let's bring it down. That's the down, 2 octave, up and down 2, random. That's it for that. And then you get, of course, the length of the note, and then you also have patterns. So some of them you actually like and use. You've got up to 4 octave of going up on the keys and note repeat. Let's go back to, let's do something we. One repeat plays every note twice. Turn it off for now, and you can actually test it here. You go test, you hear it. Because if you don't have a controller where you can't play on screen, so you can actually test it here. And there's control over the keys that you see on screen. The scale is going to be there, how many keys you want to see. The mode, the play is going to be scaling mode. Again, you can test it. You get tuning, Arabic tuning. You can actually change it here to something else, A flat, B flat, and stuff like that. And you can import and export. That's cool. You can actually save your sound, export it to something else, and maybe import it to another one. So that's also something interesting because it also runs on iPhone. So you could actually make your sound on your iPad, let's say. When it's done, save them, export them, load it into your iPhone, and just go live with your iPhone as a synth and play it, because it's the same brain, it's the same synthesis. And the when you buy it, it runs on iPad and iPhone. So same copy runs on the two. So pretty cool. And what's cool also about it, if I'm turning this off and I'm going to beat Maker 3, and I'm going to open a new session, I'm going to go here, and I want to go plug in. If I go audio unit version 3, I have Poison 202 right here. So it actually, I'm going to go back here. I want to see it. I'm going to go here, and I want to load in. So I'm actually in Beatmaker 3 right now. It's loaded in. And I have everything except the arpeggiator. You see there's no settings here. I can't go into the arpeggiator. There's no arpeggiator. You're having the synth here, 1, 2, LFO, and the patching, what you expect to play with. And that's it. So if you like aggressive sounds, it can do also very subtle and nice sounds. And if you used a JP-8000 and you like that cross modulation sync value you can make with that, this is a pretty close contender to replacing a JP-8000. So I'm really surprised and happy about what Jim does. Jim Pavlov, man, great synth. I like the sound. I like the rawness, the aggressive, and I think we both like the same style of music, because I noticed that you like Prodigy, and the sound you make in this really goes with the sound of Prodigy, and I guess that's why you call it Poison, one of the songs of Prodigy. But yeah, I like the sound and like the fact that you can make it really aggressive. Of course, you can make it very subtle if you want to, but that's the part I like, the raw, aggressive sound you can make out of this. And it just sounds cool. That's it, guys. If you like what I'm doing, thumb up. If you have any comments, put them in the comments. And follow me in a couple of weeks. I'm really going to be into iPad synth and iPad solution for you guys, because it's summer. And when it's summer, we're going to be mobile and making music wherever we can. So the iPad is your best friend for that. Cheers, guys.